Hello, students. Welcome to lesson number 5, The Snake and the Mirror, written by Viacom Muhammad Bashir. This story is a narrative within a narrative. The writer tells us the story which was told to him by a homeopathic doctor. As we see from the title, the snake and the mirror are the two most important things in this story. This homeopathic doctor encountered a snake. The snake fell on the doctor, and when the snake saw its reflection in the mirror, it was most interested in that, and the doctor's life was saved. So, before beginning with the lesson, let me tell you something more about Muhammad Viacom Muhammad Bashir. Viacom Muhammad Bashir was also known as Baipur Sultan. He was an Indian independence activist and writer of Malayalam literature. He was a recipient of the Sahitya Academy Fellowship and he used to write in Malayalam. So, this story has been translated from Malayalam into English. Now, do you like to look at yourself in the mirror? What do you think about it at such times? Have you ever seen a dog, a cat, or a bird look into a mirror? Well, what do you think it sees? Now read this humorous story about a doctor, a snake, and a mirror. So, children, let us begin reading and see what kind of twist this lesson takes. Has a snake ever coiled itself round any part of your body, a full blooded cobra? All of us fell silent. The question came from the homeopath. The topic came up when we were discussing snakes. We listened attentively as the doctor continued with his tale. That means the doctor continued with his story. So, the question that the doctor asked his students was, had any snake ever coiled itself around any part of their body, and that too a full blooded cobra? So, listening to that, it was such a dangerous question that all of them felt silent. Now, this question was posed by a homeopath, is somebody who practices homeopathy, that is a homeopathy doctor. And this topic came up when they were discussing snakes. So, his students listened very attentively as he continued with his story. It was a hot summer night, about 10 o'clock. I had my meal at the restaurant and returned to my room. I heard a noise from above as I opened the door. The sound was a familiar one. One could say that the rats and I shared the room. I took out my box of matches and lighted the kerosene lamp on the table. So here is the doctor. It is a hot summer night, around 10 o'clock. He had his meal at a restaurant and then he comes back to his room and hears a sound from above when he opens the door. And that was a normal, like an everyday sound. So he knew the sound was made by rats because he shared his room with a lot of rats. So he took out his box of matches. He had no electricity. He seemed to be quite poor and he lighted the kerosene lamp on the table. So let us continue reading. The house was not electrified. That means there was no electricity in the house. And it was a small rented room. That means the doctor did not own that room. I had just set up medical practice and my earnings were meager. Meager is very small in quantity, very little. I had about 60 rupees in my suitcase, along with some shirts and dhotis. I also possessed one solitary black coat, which I was then wearing. That means the doctor, homeopathic doctor, is telling about himself that he lived in a room which did not belong to him. He rented out that room and there was no electricity. He had just 60 rupees in his suitcase and his earnings. He did not get a lot of money, even though he was a doctor, and so his belongings were just some shirts and dhotis, which he had inside a suitcase. And he also had only one, solitary means only one black coat, and that too he was wearing it. So he says, he continues talking. He told his students, I took off my black coat, my white shirt, and not so white vest. That means a banyan. And he hung all the three things up, his coat, his shirt, and his banyan. And he opened the two windows in the room. There were two windows in that room. It was an outer room with one wall facing the open yard. That means there was a kind of a veranda outside, a courtyard, open place. and it had a tiled roof with long supporting gables that rested on the beam over the wall. Now, the meaning of gables is the upper part of a wall below a sloping surface or sloping roof. There was no ceiling. There was a regular traffic. Now he calls it traffic. You find traffic on the road, but here the movement of rats was so constant that Viacom Mohammad Bashir calls it a regular traffic of rats to and from the beam. That means they were going to that, the wooden wooden rafters, and they were coming down from it. They were going it and they were coming down from that. So he said that he made his bed since he had his dinner and he came to the room. He lit that kerosene lamp. He made his bed and he pulled it close to the wall and he lay down. That means he lay down in bed, but he could not sleep. So he got up and went to the veranda, hoping for a little air. Since there was no electricity, there was no fan, but the wind god seemed to have taken time off. It was as though the wind god had taken a holiday. The wind god was nowhere to be seen. So, here the author says the homeopathic doctor says he went back into the room and sat down on the chair. And he opened the box beneath the table and took out a book, the Materia Medica. I opened it at the table on which stood the lamp and a large mirror. A small comb lay beside the mirror. So the things that he possessed, he had like a box under the table, and he took out a book, a medical book, and he put it on the table. What was there on the table? There was a lamp that he had lit and a large mirror and a comb. He must be like standing there and combing his hair every day in front of the mirror. One feels tempted to look into a mirror when it is a near one. I took a look. In those days, I was a great admirer of beauty, and I believed in making myself look handsome. Now, he was a doctor, and so he was concerned about his appearance. He wanted to look good. He was unmarried and he was a doctor. So that means he thought a lot about himself, and he felt he had to make his presence felt. He wanted people to notice him. So he picked up the comb and ran it through his hair and adjusted the parting so that it looked straight and very neat. And again he heard that sound from above. He heard some particular sound from above. So let's continue reading. I took a close look at my face in the mirror. I made an important decision. I would shave daily and grow a thin mustache to look more handsome. I was, after all, a bachelor and a doctor. So, looking at himself, he realized that maybe he hadn't shaved. So, he made up his mind and he thought that from now on, I am going to shave myself daily and I am going to grow not a bushy mustache but a thin mustache so that I can look more handsome. After all, I am unmarried and I am a doctor, and so anyone will be very happy to be married to me. So I looked into the mirror and I smiled. It was an attractive smile. I made another earth shaking decision. So one decision was to shave daily, the second one was to keep that attractive smile on my face in order to look more handsome. So these were the two, decisions that he had made. I was, after all. So this is one thing that is being repeated, that he was a bachelor, he was a bachelor. So this is the third or fourth time that it is repeated, that he realized that he was a bachelor and that, he wanted people to be attracted to him. And a doctor, that means he had a very wonderful position in society, and this is the third time now. Again came that noise from above. So he heard some particular noise from above. Now let's continue reading. I got up and paced up and down the room. That means he kept walking to and fro. Then another lovely thought struck me. I would marry. I would get married to a woman doctor who had plenty of money and a good medical practice. She had to be fat for a valid reason. If I made some silly mistake and needed to run away, she should not be able to run after me and catch me. Now, what a thought! Like he got up and kept pacing, going back and forth across the room, and then a thought came to his mind. He thought that when I get married, I will get married to another doctor, but that woman doctor should have a lot of money and a very good medical practice so that he would be able to live very comfortably. And he also wanted his wife to be he wanted her to be plump, to be fat, because he thought in his mind that if I make some silly mistake and I need to run away, then my wife should not be able to catch me. So he really thought quite ahead. He was unmarried and yet he made a lot of plans. So, with such thoughts in my mind, I resumed my seat in the chair in front of the table. There were no more sounds from above. Suddenly there came a dull thud, as if a rubber tube had fallen to the ground. So he had heard that sound from above twice, thrice, and now there was no more sound, just a dull thud that happened, like something, it seemed as though a rubber tube had fallen to the ground. So he thought, surely that is nothing to worry myself about. Even so, he thought he would, just turn and take a look at what had fallen. No sooner had I turned than a fat snake wriggled over the back of the chair and landed on my shoulder. The moment he turned, he realized that what the sound that he had heard was of a fat snake. Instead of having a fat wife, here he saw a fat snake, and the snake landed on him and on his shoulder. The snake landing on him and his turning happened at, simultaneous means happened at the same moment. Now the homeopathic doctor didn't jump, he didn't tremble, he didn't cry out. There was no time to do any such thing, and the snake slithered is moved slowly along his shoulder and coiled around his left arm just above the elbow, like a kamarband, no? Like something to tie on the arm. The hood was spread out and its head was hardly 3 or 4 inches from his face. And it not only like coiled itself around his arm, but it spread its hood out, and its head was just 3 or 4 inches from his face. So you can imagine what a situation this homeopathic doctor is in at that moment. We cannot even remember. Like he must have grown cold, he must have been paralyzed with fear, he must have been speechless, unable to even think. His thinking also must have stopped. He must have been so afraid. It would not be correct to say merely that I sat there holding my breath. So that doctor was like, frozen for that moment in time. I was turned to stone, but my mind was very active. Physically, the homeopathic doctor had become frozen, but his mind was active. The door opened into the darkness, and the room was surrounded by darkness. In the light of the lamp, I sat there like a stone image in the flesh. So he's saying that he held his breath, and it was like, in one moment somebody had waved a magic wand, and instead of being a human being, he had become stone. But even though physically he was paralyzed, he was speechless, but his mind was very active. And the door opened inside the darkness. The room was surrounded by darkness, and in the light of the lamp, he stood there like stone image, like a stone statue in the flesh. I felt then the great presence of the creator of this world and this universe. So at that moment, it was like, he was counting the last minutes of his life. And at that time, when a person is in difficulty, in danger, like, all of us remember, oh God. So that was the time that he remembered his creator, and he remembered God was there. Suppose I said something and he did not like it. So he, he tried to pray, tried to think, but his mind was not working. I tried in my imagination to write in bright letters outside my little heart the words, oh God. There was some pain in my left arm because the snake had, twined itself around his arm. It was as if a thick leaden rod, no, a rod made of molten fire, was slowly but powerfully crushing my arm. The snake was winding itself around his arm, and it was like somebody was twisting, and so the blood was circulation was, so it was like fire around his arm. The arm was beginning to be drained of all strength. What could I do? At my slightest movement, the snake would strike me. Death lurked. That means death was just 4 inches away. Suppose it struck. What was the medicine I had to take? Even though he was a doctor at that moment, he wasn't thinking very clearly. There were no medicines in the room. I was but a poor, foolish, and stupid doctor. I forgot my danger and smiled feebly, that means in a weak manner, at myself. So here, children, we can see that when what all the range of emotions that this homeopathic doctor went through the moment the snake coiled itself around his arm. He was like, he was frozen, he was speechless, he was dumbstruck, He thought any minute now I'm going to die. And then he remembers the creator of this world. He remembers God, and he thinks that if I could speak, I would say, "Oh God," and yet he was unable to speak. And he was drained of all strength. So mentally and physically, he was in a shocked situation. And he thought that if the snake bites me, then what am I to do? What medicine shall I take? I have no medicine. And then he thought, I'm only a poor, foolish, and a stupid doctor. And at that moment, when he, thought the right things about himself, at that time he smiled at his situation. It seemed as if God appreciated that. So even in this dangerous situation, he was able to smile. And the snake turned its head. It looked into the mirror and saw its reflection. I do not claim that it was the first snake that had ever looked into a mirror, but it was certain that the snake was looking into the mirror. But just at that moment, when he felt a little like smiling, even though he was close to death, the homeopathic doctor, when he smiled, it was as though God appreciated that smile in the face of death. And he saw the snake turned its head and saw its reflection in the mirror. And then he saw that the snake continued looking into the mirror. Was it admiring its own beauty? Was it trying to make an important decision about growing a mustache, or using eyeshadow and mascara, or wearing a vermilion spot on the uh, forehead, like wearing a sindoor? So, when you look into the mirror, the homeopathic doctor had decided that he would shave every day, and then he would keep a thin mustache and so on. So he was wondering what is going through the snake's mind as it looks into the mirror. I do not know. I did not know anything for certain. That means he didn't know for sure what were the thoughts in the snake's mind as he kept looking into its reflection in the mirror. What sex was the snake? Was it a male or a female? He said, I will never know. For the snake unwound itself from my arm and slowly slithered, that it moved into his lap, and from there it crept, that means went slowly onto the table and moved towards the mirror. Perhaps it wanted to enjoy its reflection at closer quarters. Then the homeopathic doctor thought to himself that maybe I will never know whether it's a male or a female, so I don't know what thoughts are going on in his mind, whether it wants to, shave, or wants to have put some mascara, or what are the thoughts, but or whether it wants to put a bindi on the head. But maybe it wants to enjoy its reflection, it wants to go close to the mirror. I was no mere image cut in granite, like it was as though he was frozen, no, he had become like stone. I was suddenly a man of the moment the snake slithered and moved down from his arm and went into his lap and then went down. Then it was as though he started breathing, but still holding his breath. He got up from that chair. The moment the snake went down, I quietly went through the door into the veranda, and from there I leapt into the yard and ran for all I was worth. So he's saying the moment the snake went down from his lap and went out, it was as though he had won freedom. And so he held his breath, he went quietly through the door into the veranda, and from there he ran for all he was worth. That means with every little ounce of breath and strength that he had, he ran. He wanted to put that snake far away from him. Shh. Each one of us heaved a sigh of relief. So when the doctor told his students this whole story, it was not just the doctor who was relieved, all the students also were very relieved. Somebody asked, Doctor, is your wife very fat? No, the doctor said, God willed it otherwise. My life companion is a thin, reedy person with a gift of a sprinter. So, in a very humorous way, when they realized that the doctor was safe and that the he had run far away from that room, they all were heaving a sigh of relief and smiling. So one of the students asked that, Doctor, is your wife very fat? So the doctor, he must have smiled and said that no, no, God didn't want my wife to be fat. And that's the reason why my life companion is a very thin, reedy person, like a reed with a gift, and she can run very fast. So somebody else asked him, Doctor, when did you, when you ran, did the snake follow you? Because they wanted to know something more about the snake. The doctor replied, I ran and ran till I reached a friend's house. Immediately I smeared oil all over myself and took a bath. I changed into fresh clothes, and the next morning at about 8:30, I took my friend and one or two others to my room to move my things from there. So that was that last night that he spent in that room. He was so frightened that he ran for his life, and he stopped only when he reached a friend's house, and there he put oil all over his body. He was feeling quite like horrible with that feeling of the snake on his hand, so he put oil all over his himself and nicely massaged and took a bath, and then got into fresh clothes, and then he went off. He must have like fallen asleep with great difficulty, because it was such a shocking experience. And the next morning he didn't go back to the room alone. He took his friends and one or two others in order to help him to move all his things from there. But we found we had little to carry. So when he went back in the morning with his friend and some other people in order to move the things, they found that like some thief had come and stolen most of the things. So the some thief had removed most of my things. The room had been cleaned out, but not really. The thief had left behind one thing as a final insult, and they all asked, what was that? They wanted to know very eagerly. The doctor said they had taken everything else, his suitcase, his clothes, the money, everything, maybe his books also. But the doctor said they left my vest, the dirty one. The fellow had such a sense of cleanliness, the rascal could have taken it and used it after washing it with soap and water. So the doctor was quite annoyed that they had taken everything, but they had only left his banyan. He thought that if since you have taken everything, you should have taken the banyan also. No, you could have that thief could have washed it and then worn it if somebody they wanted even his other clothes. But then the doctor said that so the students asked him, did you see the snake the next day, doctor? The doctor laughed. I have never seen it since. It was a snake which was very taken with its own beauty. That means the snake had fallen in love with himself. That means he was taken in, he was very attracted by his own reflection in the mirror, and that was what saved the doctor's life that very day. It was because of the mirror, or no one knows what could have happened, that he could have died. He had a very close shave with death. So this has been written by Viacom Muhammad Bashir, and it has been translated from the Malayalam by V. Abdullah. So children, I hope you have understood this lesson. It's a very fascinating narration of uh, an experience of a homeopathic doctor which he tells his students. So now we will see thinking about the text. Discuss in pairs and answer each question below in a short paragraph of 30 to 40 words. The sound was a familiar one. What sound did the doctor hear, and what did he think it was? How many times did he hear it? Find the places in the text and underline, okay? When and why did the sound stop? The sound that the doctor heard was that of the rats which moved on the beam overhead. He thought it was the squeaking of the rats. He heard the sound thrice. The places in the text which indicate it are as follows. I heard a noise from above as I opened the door. Again I heard that noise from above. Again came that noise from above. When the doctor sat in the chair, the sound stopped suddenly as the rats had seen a snake. That means the rats were no longer there. They had run away. What two important and earth shaking decisions did the doctor take while he was looking into the mirror? When the doctor looked at himself in the mirror, he decided to improve his looks in order to appear more handsome. So, he made two important and earth shaking decisions. First, he would shave daily and grow a thin mustache. And secondly, he would always keep smiling as he looked very attractive when he smiled. Question number three. I looked into the mirror and smiled, says the doctor. A little later, he says, I forgot my danger and smiled feebly at myself. What is the doctor's opinion about himself when he first smiles and then when he smiles again? In what way do his thoughts change in between, and why? First of all, when the doctor smiled for the first time, he thought he was a valuable man, he was unmarried, he was a doctor, and that he had a wonderful status in society. There would be many girls who wanted to marry him, so he knew his importance. He was looking at himself in the mirror, admiring himself, and planning to how he could improve his looks. But when the second time he smiled, He felt very helpless and thought he was a very foolish person. He was looking at himself in the mirror, feeling that he was very silly to have landed into trouble, and he could not think of any way out of that situation. And so his thoughts changed drastically within a few minutes. This story about a frightening incident is narrated in a very humorous way. What makes it so funny or humorous? Think of the contrasts it presents between dreams and reality. Some are listed below. First of all, the kind of person the doctor is. The doctor is not very well off, he's quite poor, he hardly has any possessions. And then the next is uh, the kind of person he wants to be. So, first of all, is that he was turned, the kind of some are listed below. Then the next one, write a short paragraph on each of these to get your answer. The person he wants to marry, the person he actually marries, his thoughts when he looks into the mirror, his thoughts when the snake is coiled around his arm. The first one, the kind of person the doctor is. So, the kind of person he is educated, but he is not very, uh, not, he's a bachelor and he's a doctor, he's an educated person. Then, the kind of person he wants to be. What is his ambition? So, his ambition is that he marries another doctor who is very well off so that he can live comfortably. Then, the person he wants to, the author's thoughts when he looks into the mirror. At first he thinks that he should, shave every day, and then he thinks that yes, he is very presentable, he has a wonderful smile, so he should keep smiling more. And that he also thinks that he should keep a thin mustache. Then what about his thoughts when the snake is coiled around his arm? When the snake thinks that he's very helpless and he thinks he's a foolish person. He was looking at himself and feeling that he was so silly to have landed into trouble, as he could not think of any way out. Now, thinking about language, here are some sentences. Say which of them tell you about that the author was afraid of the snake. First one, that he was afraid of the snake. I was turned to stone. The arm was beginning to be drained of strength. I tried in my imagination to write in bright letters outside of my little heart the words, "Oh God." I didn't tremble. I didn't cry out. So all these sentences belong to the first one. Then the second one is, he was proud of his appearance. That is, I looked into the mirror and smiled. It was an attractive smile. Then the third one, he had a sense of humor. I tried in my imagination to write in bright letters outside my little heart the words, "Oh God." Then the fourth one, he was no longer afraid of the snake. I was no mere image cut in granite. I was suddenly a man of flesh and blood. So all these belong to the fourth one. Now, can you find the expression in the story that tell you that the author was frightened? Read the story and complete the following sentence. I was turned to stone. I sat there holding my breath. In the light of the lamp, I sat there like a stone image in the flesh. Now, the next exercise, match the meanings with the words and expressions in italics and write the appropriate meaning. I knew a man who was following me. I was scared of out of my wits. That means I was very frightened. The first one is, I knew a man was following me. I was scared out of my wits. I was very frightened. The second one, I got a fright when I realized how close I was to the cliff edge. That means I was frightened by something that happened suddenly. He nearly jumped out of his skin when he saw the bull coming towards him. He was very frightened. Number four, you really gave me a fright when you crept up behind me like that, frightened by something that happened suddenly. Wait until I tell the story. It will make your hair stand on end, makes another feel frightened. Then number six, paralyzed with fear, the boy faced his abductors. That means he was too scared to move. And number seven, the boy hid behind the door, not moving a muscle. He was too scared to move. Then report these questions using if or whether, or why, when, where, how, which, and what. So remember, the italicized verbs change in the past tense. So Meena asked a friend that, do you think your teacher will come today? So Meena asked her friend if she thought the teacher would come that day. The second one, David asked his colleague, "Where will you go this summer?" David asked his colleague where he would go that summer. The third one, he asked the little boy, "Why are you studying English?" He asked the little boy why he was studying English. She asked me when we were going to leave. She asked me when are we going to leave will change to she asked me when we were going to leave. Then number 5, Pran asked me, "Have you finished reading the newspaper?" will change to Pran asked me if I had finished reading the newspaper. Number 6, Seema asked her, "How long have you lived here?" Seema had lived there. Sheila asked the children if they are you ready to do the work? Sheila asked the children if they were ready to do the work. Then the speaking exercise is that you can just think about an incident where you were very frightened, and using some of the expressions given in exercise 3 you could just write a paragraph on like an incident when you felt very very frightened. And dictation is to read and learn something more about the Indian cobra. Indian cobra is the common name for members of the family of venomous is poisonous snakes, known for their intimidating is frightening looks and very deadly bite. Cobras are recognized by the hoods that they flare when angry or disturbed. That means they expand their hood. The hoods are created by the extension of the ribs behind the cobra's head. Obviously, the best prevention is to avoid getting bitten by them. This is facilitated by the fact that humans are not the natural prey. That means they don't come and purposely look for human beings. But we are a bit too large for them to swallow whole, and they have no means of chopping us up into bite sized pieces. That means they cannot chop us into pieces. So, nearly all snake bites in humans are the result of the snake defending itself when it feels threatened in general, and snakes are shy and will simply leave if you give them a chance. So, this is about information about the cobra. Then the next one is to try and rewrite the story without its humor, without the funny parts, merely as a frightening incident. So, what details or parts of the story would you leave out? That is for you to decide. Then read the description given alongside this sketch from a photograph in the newspaper, Times of India, 4th of September 1999. That's quite a long time ago. Make up a story about what the monkey is thinking or why it is looking into a mirror and write a paragraph. So this is it will your writing skills will improve if you do that. The fairest of them all. A monkey preens itself using a piece of mirror in the Delhi Ridge. To preen is to spend a lot of time making oneself look very attractive and then admiring one's appearance. The word is used in a very disapproving sense. So I hope you have understood all these exercises that we have done. Now, the next is translation. The text you read is a translation of a story by a well known Malayalam writer, Viacom Muhammad Bashir. In translating a story from one language to another, a translator must keep the content intact, but the language and style can differ in different translations. Now, here, what is given there, A and B, are two translations of the opening paragraph of a novel by a Japanese writer, Haruki Murakami. So read them and answer the questions given below. When the phone rang, I was in the kitchen boiling a pot full of spaghetti and whistling along with an FM broadcast of the overture to Rossini's The Thieving Magpie, which had to be the perfect music for cooking pasta. I wanted to ignore the phone, not only because the spaghetti was nearly done, but because Claudio Abbado was bringing the London Symphony to its musical climax. So this is one translation. And the next one, I'm in the kitchen cooking spaghetti when the woman calls. Another moment until the spaghetti is done. There I am whistling the prelude to Rossini's La Gazza Ladra along with FM radio, perfect spaghetti cooking music. I hear the telephone ring, but tell myself, ignore it, let the spaghetti finish cooking. It's almost done, and besides, Claudio Abbado and the London Symphony Orchestra are coming to a crescendo. Compare the two translations on the basis of the points. You have to think of the tense of the narration. Is it in the present or in the past? Then which one has short and incomplete sentences? And in which do you find the sentence length longer? Which of these translations do you like? That is your personal liking. So give reasons for your choice. So Yes. I hope you have understood the lesson and all the exercises that follow after it well. So, thank you, children. Make sure you read the lesson and write all the question answers. And whatever textual exercises you can complete in the textbook itself. Thank you and have a nice day.